morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone that's joining us for this webinar. Grateful you are here, and today we'll be discussing graduate scholarship for students abroad. And with me here, I have Mr. Philp Adebayo, who would be dissecting some questions that you guys have asked and be telling us the basic requirements and some necessary steps that can earn you a graduate scholarship for your desired course abroad. Mr. Adebayo, thank you once again for joining us and wanting and willing to share out of your wealth of experience and knowledge. We don't take it for granted. Thank you very much. All right, so I'll be reading. You're welcome. So I'll be reading this profile while we before we dive into the questions that you guys have provided. So Mr. Philp Adebayo is a promising researcher who is specializing in clean and renewable energy technologies. Currently, is pursuing his Ph.D. in the Department of Mechanical Engineering at the University of Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And Mr. Philp focuses on optimizing solar-assisted geothermal heat pump system with thermal storage for sustainable space heating and cooling in cold climates. Philp received the Indigenous Black Engineering and Technology Momentum Fellowship and prestigious Vienna, Canada Graduate Scholarship Award to support his Ph.D. program. He earned his master's degree from the American University of Beirut in Lebanon that was fully sponsored by the MasterCard Foundation, and he had his bachelor's degree with a first-class honor from the University of Ibadan in Nigeria. Quite laudable quite laudable things to read from you. Thank you once again for joining us, and we just dive into the questions and then get the ball rolling. So to start with, I would want to ask you, is there any fees? Like what is the advantage for me or for any other person looking for this opportunity, like having their graduate study abroad? What's the necessity? Is there any advantage? Why can't I just stay in my local or home country and just continue pursuing my education? And why should I have to seek for scholarship or have to even travel abroad for my graduate study in the first place?
Thank you for the question. And for me, grabbing the opportunity to study abroad goes beyond the four walls of the classroom. Well, yeah, coming from a graduate program, and definitely if you're not doing a course-based program, you're most likely doing research, right? And for you to be able to have that access to, world-class facilities where you can do research, and it goes beyond that also. When you look at the kind of set of people that you are going to be running with, I'm sure that they'll be the best of the best from their various university where they're coming from. And basically increasing your network base, the kind of people you can relate with, apart from what you are used to in your home country. Maybe you're just familiar with Nigerians or Yorubas or Yoruba, Igbo, and Hausa, for example. But now you're coming to a new system where you have people from various walks of life, you have people from different continents around the world. So that's, to me, also part of the education. Like I said earlier, it's not just about the four walls of the classroom. So one, the benefits of going for graduate studies abroad include access to world-class facilities for you to conduct research, and also two, a network of individual that you can build over time that's going to catapult your career. Those two things are very vital for me as a person.
That's cool. Thank you very much for that. And when we were reading through your profile, I could see it's more of research, like funding for research, like research. And my question at this point to you is graduate study all about research? Or like if I'm coming for graduate study abroad, do I have to be a researcher, or are there varying courses that don't really have to do with research? Or whatever, do you want to lend voice to that question?
Yeah, so coming to the abroad for graduate studies does not necessarily has to do with research. But if you are coming to be fully sponsored, the best route or the sure route, one of the sure route is coming through research. So let me break it down. So let's assume that you are coming for a master's program. So we have two kind of master's program. One of them is course-based masters, and the other is a thesis-based masters. So in most cases, course-based masters are not usually funded because they are course-based, and you can only get this kind of funding for course-based masters through general funding bodies like MasterCard, Commonwealth, Erasmus, Queen Elizabeth Commonwealth Scholarship, and all of that. So it's very difficult to get that kind of you can only get that kind of funding opportunity to do your course-based masters. But if you are coming for uh, a thesis-based masters, well, some of them also support thesis, but in the long way, the general way that people get funding for thesis is through maybe research assistantship or teaching assistantship. So at that point, it is very important that you channel more of your effort towards research, how you are going to contribute to the research in that school or to the research group that you'll be joining. So yeah, and it depends on the individual as well. What do you want to do in the next phase of your career? What exactly is your goal? Why are you going for graduate study? Those are some of the questions you want to ask yourself. Another question that I think I mentioned earlier is you asking yourself if you want to sponsor yourself or you are looking for scholarship to sponsor you. So if you are looking for scholarship to sponsor you, and you know that you have interest in doing research, because I won't advise people to just come because they want to leave their country for graduate study. You just want to leave and you are trying to force yourself liking research. I want to advise you, make sure that you know that you really like doing research, and then you can go through that part. But if you know that you like course-based program, you want to be in a professional setting where doing a thesis-based program doesn't make you unprofessional as well. It doesn't mean that you will be in academia, right? So, but you need to know what exactly you want to do. If you want to do course basis, then you can try to look for some of the opportunities that I look for that I mentioned. But yeah, they are very limited. And imagine a lot of people applying from all over Africa, for example, from all over the world for the same course-based program, which are very limited. So it makes it much more competitive than thesis based. I'm not saying that thesis based is not also competitive, but I mean, we have a whole lot of opportunities through teaching assistants, research assistants position, and what most times you have to do your own research for the teaching, for the research-based program, especially for some universities that require that you get a supervisor before you apply to the school. So you need to find out about those supervisor. It's not like somebody we have it somewhere that yeah, these are the supervisors you are good. You need to go and research or to go and send email to. You need to be the one to find them and think like, okay, I think our research align and I want to send email to them. I think that answer your question.
Yes, it does, but it definitely brings more questions to it. And there are two questions from all what I can hear you saying, but I want you to simplify it for people that might not understand what all these terminologies is all about and what it is in general. And the first question would be, what's the difference between a course-based graduate study, like going the course-based graduate study or the course-based graduate study in general, and the thesis-based study? And my second question is, you made mention that comparing is not that the thesis base is like not filled up with people that are interested, but in comparison with the course-based study, it's way lesser. And you said because there are some more routes that you can go through. And you said teacher assistant and graduate. If I had you right,
Research assistants, yeah.
graduate
Research
research
assistant.
assistant. Okay, so I want you to demystify between a teacher assistant, if there is any difference between the two, a teacher assistant and a graduate research assistant. So the first question here, let me repeat again, is what's the difference between a course-based study and a thesis-based study? Then what's the difference between a teacher or graduate research assistant and a teacher research assistant? I don't know if I'm saying the two correctly.
All right.
Thank you.
In case I forgot to answer the second question, please remind me. But for the first question, which is what is the difference between course-based program and thesis-based program? So basically for course-based program, it's more of you taking courses. You are taking courses from your year one to your final semester. If you are taking 2 years courses, for example, I mean, in UK, mostly they are 1 year program. So you are taking courses throughout. There's nothing like research. You might do course projects, you might do projects, and those are not considered as research. But for research, if you are going for research, let's say master's research, you're expected to dedicate maybe 1 year for your courses and the last 1 year for research, depending in some school or some research group, it might be that the moment you resume that your program, you're already starting your research alongside your courses. So it depends. So basically, course base is more of courses, taking courses throughout. It's not you don't have any responsibility to do research. It's just courses. You want to understand more what is happening in the industry, then or you're a professional that you see yourself more in the industry than well, academia, like I said earlier, I'm not saying that thesis is purely academia, but you see yourself that I don't like doing research. I just want to understand the new knowledge or in that field. You can go for courses, but the concern there is if you don't have the money to fund yourself, it might be difficult to get it. There are some funding opportunities that does that, like I mentioned earlier. But for thesis, you are expected to write thesis, to conduct research. And depending on the requirements in your program, you might be expected to publish papers before you finish your maybe master's or your PhD program. So you do your research, you write, and yeah, in most cases for thesis, you have to conduct research. And then the second question, which is the difference between teaching assistants and research assistants. So for teaching assistants, it's more of you supporting the supervisor or your maybe a professor at the university to teach a course. Maybe you are taking tutorial, you are in charge of labs, or you are supporting them in grading assignments, midterm and examinations, depending on the role that you are assigned to do. But for teaching assistants, you are being employed to come and do research. Right? You are being employed to come and do research for them, and you are being paid for doing research for them. So I should also mention that in most cases, the teaching assistantship position doesn't come by you interacting with the professor. It is the department that we assign teaching assistant in most cases, right? But for research assistant, it is the professor that know that yes, I want this person to come and I can offer him to come and work for me as a research assistant in my lab. And in most cases, the research assistantship is tied to your program, either master's program or PhD program. So you are, in a nutshell, you are being employed as an assistant, you are being paid, and at the same time, you are doing your program like a master's program
Program. Hmm.
or your PhD program.
All right. I would ask a question from there, and just for the benefit of people that don't really know the nitty-gritty of all of this. So being when I am coming in, for example, for a thesis-based course or program, do I have to have what I want to do at the back of my mind? Or it is when I get into the program, I will be able to like differentiate because, like you said from the onset, is that you have to look for the professor that you want to work with if you're coming for a thesis-based program. So, given those two differences between the teacher assistant and the graduate research trainer, is it when I get into the program, like you said, the school is the one that assigns the latter, the graduate assistant stuff? Is it when I get into the program that I would be assigned and they'll say, okay, your professor said, okay, you're a teacher graduate assistant, you'll be helping me in so. And then the school will not like, okay, I think I present you to be a graduate assistant and what have you. So what's the process like from the entry point or the admission process?
Yeah, for admission process, let me say this. So, they don't assign teaching assistantship or research assistantship before you get admission. Now, it depends on the admission processes of each school. So let's take, for example, in the US, there are some schools in the US that they will state that you need to get a supervisor to agree to supervise you before you apply. There are some schools in the US that does that, and there are some schools that will just make it a generic admission decision. You just need to apply. But I always advise people, as long as they don't put it on their website that do not contact any professor, you still go ahead and reach out to at least someone. Let them know that you have interest in them and you'll be submitting your application to them. Convince them. They may not be able to tell you that, they may not be able to guarantee you that yes, you'll be coming to my research group until you get admission and they can look through your profile. So it will be in your benefit because you have already reached out to them before you submitted the application. And if you made it through that stage, because they're making a generic admission, just like they are doing for most universities. When you write post UTME, they rank you, and in Nigeria now, they rank you, and based on the capacity that they can have, some of them do it like that. So in that, and why I advise people to reach out is because you are paying hundreds of dollars at times for application fee, and coming from Nigeria, you may not be able to afford that. Like, as we want to apply for 10 schools, and each of the schools is requesting for $100 each. That's $1,000. You may not be able to afford that. Though some schools give application fee waiver, and some schools do not. But another way for you to be a bit sure, at least 70% sure that you can get into that program, is you already have someone that is working there that you really like their research, and you have established a communication with them through email that you really like their research and you would like to join their research group. So if they have the liberty, for some schools that have the liberty, they can call you for an interview, they can schedule an interview with you, try to get to know you more. And if they are satisfied, they can tell you, go ahead and apply. Even I know that some professors, even when they don't have the liberty to decide who comes into the program or who comes to their lab, they can still tell some people that reach out to them to be like, okay, you can go ahead and apply. But some of them will put it closer, but I'm not the one in charge of the admission, so it's still 50-50. But there is some hope that if you scale through the admission process, that you can work with that professor, right? But the one that I love the most is someone giving the guarantee, go ahead, I think you can work in my lab. So far, you meet the minimum requirements. So mostly in Canada, that's the way it works in some of the faculty, especially engineering and sciences. You have to get a supervisor. Even if you go ahead and apply without getting a supervisor to agree to supervise you, it's like wasting your money. So you need to, and how do you get a supervisor? Send out cold email. You can attend conferences, meet them online. They do webinar. You can meet them at webinars. Or if you are lucky, you go for conferences outside or within the US or anywhere, and you see someone in that nature, you can connect with them and build rapport with them. But mostly people do that by cold email. You reach out to them, and if you are lucky that they are recruiting students at that point, they may schedule an interview with you, like I mentioned. And if you meet the minimum, because you still have to meet the admission requirement at that school, depending on the style that they are using. So if you meet the admission requirement, then the supervisor can bring you in. And in most cases, it might be in form of research assistantship in that case. Like I mentioned earlier, teaching assistantship is mostly being offered by the department.
Okay.
And it's always competitive if you are depending on the teaching assistantship as well.
Okay.
Because if they make a generic admission decision and professors in that school, they don't have the money to support students, they don't have research fund to support students. So most of them will be depending on the research teaching assistantship. So for them to be able to support the student. And when we talk about teaching assistantship and research assistantship for a graduate student, thesis-based student now,
Yeah.
mostly they come in a full package,
Mm.
which is totally funded. You have stipend and they are paying your tuition as well. So it's total package. But if you are going for course-based and you get teaching assistantship or research assistantship, it's a different scenario because most course-based, if you are not going for a thesis-based program, if you go for a course-based program and you are lucky to get teaching assistantship or research assistantship, they'll pay you per hour. They don't care for your tuition, they don't care for any other expenses, just per hour. So that's why it's always advisable for if you are going for thesis based, no matter what, if you get research assistantship or you get teaching assistantship, it's always like full package. And so depending on you need to understand the way they run the admission in each of the schools you are looking at applying to. Right? Some of them, like I mentioned earlier, we state specifically that you need to contact a supervisor. And if you don't do that, you're just wasting your money. And if they do not say that you should contact a supervisor, you're applying generically, I would still advise that you reach out to your supervisor as long as you're looking for thesis-based opportunity.
Very profound. Thank you very much for breaking this down. So I would dive into the question and link it up with all this explanation. Where necessary, I see the questions like fall into what you're trying to explain. I'll ask the question so that you can
Yeah.
shed more light to it. Yeah. So one of the questions here says, how can I secure a good scholarship? And another one I want to tie with this is yeah, no, okay, how can I secure a good scholarship? And the next one I want to tie with this is how do you find the right how do I find the right program for me? And I will ask this in a very simple time for people that don't just know anything what to do, right? They just know they want to further their studies. Is that if I am that kind of person, what will you advise me to do? Will you tell me go for course base or go for thesis base? See all the goodies and juices that comes that you are explaining that comes with thesis base, which I quite understand that there'll be a lot of work behind the scene, right? But what will you what will you tell for someone that don't just know, but the person just want to pursue a graduate study, and the person is like, should I go for course base or should I go for thesis base? How will I add you're answering the question, how do I find a good program for me? And the second one on this part is, how do I secure a good scholarship? Thank you.
Yeah, how do I secure a good scholarship for me? I think in that case, the role of a mentor cannot be overestimated. So I always advise as you speak with people, especially when you don't know exactly what you want to do. And if you are lucky to have a very good mentor, there are a set of questions of people that really understand this part. There are some set of questions they may be able to ask you that will make you to discover yourself and discover what exactly you want to do. And another thing that might guide your decision will likely be that, do I have the money or am I depending on scholarship? Do I love doing research or I don't think I have the capacity for research, but I still want to do graduate study? And these are some of the genuine questions that you likely want to ask yourself because you don't want to do because everybody is doing it. Everybody is going for graduate study. Everybody is doing thesis-based research. Everybody is doing course-based research, and you're doing it blindly without being convinced by yourself that this is what you want to do. And I think I love it. You may not have the full answer, but you have some flavor for it, right? It can develop over time, but you must have a flavor for it. I've seen people that told me that I don't think I want to do research. That's understandable. Then you don't have to waste your time pursuing research-based option. Then you need to develop your skills to be able to be competitive for the limited amount of scholarship that are available for course-based program, right? So that, but for people that are still in school, for you to be able to find good scholarship. Hmm, I think I'm deviating from that question a bit. So for you to be able to find good scholarship will be like answering some of those questions that I talk about in the first place, because the concept of good scholarship is ambiguous. It depends on what you consider to be good, but I think I try to mention what a good scholarship can be like if you especially don't have the money and the good scholarship is having everything being sorted out.
Yeah.
So how do you get it? It depends on the scholarship you are pursuing. So I think I've talked a lot about thesis-based program. Let's talk about course-based program and citing the likes of Erasmus. Erasmus, I know this. I think they support both course-based and thesis-based program. And one exciting thing about Erasmus, why I think it's a good scholarship, is that you can do your master's program with Erasmus in 4 or 5 countries in Europe. You do one semester in each of the country. And I think maybe you have to book your flight to get there, but they kind of reimburse you for your relocation fee, but you have to cater for how you get there in the first place. That's one. But you get your stipend, you get your fees settled, and you just like that, you are in 5 countries within 2 years. Your passport is getting, and all of that. And then let's talk about MasterCard. That's another example that you can get from courses scholarship. So MasterCard also comes with full package. MasterCard, they will pay for your flight from your home country to wherever you are doing your program. You get a laptop, depending on the university. You get a laptop, they pay your tuition fee, and you still get stipend, right? And they also have some program for exclusively for their scholars in most cases, right? There are some professional development program exclusive for their scholars. So that can also be a good scholarship for you. And so now, if you want to get that kind of scholarship, you need to go and look at what are their requirements. For example, I know for MasterCard, one of the things that they give priority to is you must be able to demonstrate that you don't have the money. And at the same time, it's not like they want to listen to your story of I came from somewhere where my father and mother are not buoyant. Yeah, they understand. Everybody that's applying, they are not buoyant. But the story they really want to understand is what exactly have you been doing with that make you that they will be able to support to do more. So you should be able to tell your story and connect it to how you have been able to support your environment where you think that you are poor, you are facing some environmental challenges, right? So I think I find that question very challenging to be able to give exclusively or what exactly the person is requesting for. But I think I try to give from different angles what a good scholarship can mean depending on what you want. And then I think I've touched briefly about how do you get it. I think that's the second question, right?
Yeah.
How do you get it? So how do you get it? I think I've touched point. I've mentioned something about that, especially for thesis based. I've talked about that. And for course based, like I cited the case of MasterCard, if you want to apply for MasterCard, depending on each school, because one thing I should also mention for MasterCard is MasterCard application is not generic.
Hmm.
Each university that are partnering with MasterCard, they have their own set of rules or ways they conduct their MasterCard application. So, for example, I know currently the university that are partnering with MasterCard are University of Toronto, University of Edinburgh in the UK, Toronto in Canada, and McGill in Canada is partnering. American University of Beirut in Lebanon is partnering,
Hmm.
and some other universities. I think UC Berkeley in California. So each university they have different way of recruiting MasterCard Foundation program. So it's your responsibility to check through what their application guideline is or what they are looking for. What are the core values that they are looking for? And then you may be able to demonstrate that. But yeah, if you are looking at applying for MasterCard or chevening in the UK as well, just give priority to your commitment to your professional development, your commitment to, leadership development, your community development. They give priority to that, and you must also be able to demonstrate that you cannot afford to get some of those things. And in general, when
Hmm.
you talk about applying for graduate studies, things that you can joke with is, of course, you have to write your statement of purpose.
Hmm.
You need to be able to get people to recommend you, recommendation letter.
Mhm.
You need to have a very well drafted curriculum fighter CV. And what else? Depending on your program, especially if you're looking into the US, they might ask you to submit a graduate record examination. You need to check if your program is requesting for it. So to determine if you need to write it or not. And some schools request for TOEFL or IELTS. You don't need to write the two, or depending on where you are focusing on. I mean, if you're looking at UK, maybe mostly IELTS, but if you are looking at Canada, US, they may still accept the two, but you need to look at that where your priority is to know which you are going to write. So I think those are generic application requirements that you have no choice to submit for that's for admission. And then if you are seeking scholarship like the course-based scholarship, they may have additional layer of application that you need to submit, like some 5, 6, 7, 8 essays that you need to write to convince them that yes, they can give you this scholarship.
Wow, that's a whole lot to unpack here. But let me just leave it at this point and ask some questions. Then as you talk on, I would link these questions to the answers you're providing. And one of those questions here, you were mentioning a lot of schools, a lot of scholarship in different parts of the world. And this question says, list of all the university in the US for management courses. What are the list of all university in the US for management courses? I know that cannot be something that you might want to like pro and start proing from your head, but I want you to like for our audience. This is the second time we are running this. The first time we did this, we lost the voice of our speaker. So we decided to rerun this. And when I'll be uploading this on my channel, I will definitely put a link there for people that want to reach out. Few people will be able to handle few more people because with all this that you've been saying from the beginning, it's more about what is pertinent to you. What is the thing you want to study? Are you just studying because you just want to learn, or you are very interested in research? Like you've advised that if you're not interested in research, you would just tell the person not to just go that route, right? So we will be putting a link there that would profile you the opportunity of speaking with him one-on-one so that you can like tell your peculiarity, and advice can be given to you in accordance to your peculiarity and not on the general surface or on the general ground. So back to a question, the list of all universities in the US that offer management courses. I don't know if to break it down, if you can just pinpoint one or two very popular scholarship that you know might be prevalent or very, very common in the US, and one in US or two, as many you can remember, in the United States and the United Kingdom and in Canada. And if you know any other one, maybe Australia or something, you can chip that in also. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a very broad question. And doing a management program in the US, one, it has always been a challenge and mostly competitive when it comes to anything management or social sciences or arts for you to get scholarship, not even talk about teaching assistantship or research assistantship. So your best bet in most cases is looking for popular bodies like what I mentioned earlier, Erasmus, Chevening, and MasterCard or Commonwealth as well. I think because management mostly, yeah, they are research-based program for management, and you have to go through the same route, like I mentioned, reaching out to supervisors, but they are very limited because uh, I don't want to say that management research are not well funded, like research is in STEM, science, technology, engineering. And so some universities that does, depending on what you're looking for in management, are you looking at MBA? Yeah, there are universities that does MBA. An MBA program, like I mentioned earlier, doesn't come with full funding, but there are some universities, depending on your profile, that can give you maybe 100% waiver, 100% tuition waiver, and you have to sort out your school fees by yourself. So, of my what I can remember right now in terms of school that does management, specifically MBA, but I will advise the person that asked this question to do some Google search. Google will give you some more response depending on what you want, right? If you type schools that does maybe MBA or graduate studies in management in the US. So, of course, you have universities like, of course, Harvard does a lot of management courses. Harvard does a lot of management courses, and you have, I think, is it Indiana University or Indiana State University in Bloomington? I know that um, they have a department for management or MBA programs. And I don't think there is any universities in the US that will not offer management courses. So yeah, almost universities, maybe for few exceptions, will not offer management courses. And if you want to talk about getting scholarship for that, like I mentioned earlier, you need to look at popular bodies, or if you are just okay with the tuition, which is more cases because MBA is the most expensive or graduate program you can ever do. I think yeah, is the most expensive because it has a lot of reward as well. So it at times they consider it for professionals that has their money that want to do it, and it's not always fully funded if you get any funding at all. So I think those are just two schools that I can remember off my hand, but I think might be able to do more justice for this kind of question than myself.
I would also be attaching the list you sent to everyone that registered. It has over 20 to 30 schools on how you can read more about their scholarship available in their region. We have from Asia, we have from Europe, we have from the North America, and so many other countries and regions of the world. All right, so the next
Yeah, I
question.
think I should put a disclaimer on that. For the document you'll be sharing, it wasn't compiled by me. I'm not sure if the person that compiled it put a credit to it, but I would like to acknowledge A very good mentee of mine, Olorunleke, for doing a good job on that, on getting it across to me. I wasn't sure if he was the one that compiled it as well, so just a note on.
Disclaimer. All right. Disclaimer noted. Yeah. Thank you. All right. So the next question here, it's this person is wanting to know what's the best strategies for finding and applying to less competitive scholarship for graduate studies abroad. And he says, can you share insights on finding financial aid option for students from developing countries?
You please repeat the question. I think I
All
didn't
right.
get the first part very
All right. So the first part says what's the best strategy for finding and applying for a less competitive scholarship for graduate study abroad? Less
well.
competitive.
That's the word I'm trying
That's
to find a very good definition for less competitive scholarship. Well, I don't think there's anything like that that exists, one, except the scholarship is starting for the very first time and you are the only person that gets to know about it. So you approach a scholarship like everybody is applying for it. And the first question you want to ask yourself is how many of the requirements do you meet? So far, you meet at least 50% of the scholarship criteria, then go for it.
All right.
So how do you find, like I said, I'm not sure there's anything that exists like there's competitive scholarship, but how do you find some of them they don't come naturally. You need to be in a community of like minds. There are different groups flying around where people talk about graduate opportunities. There are different WhatsApp group, Telegram group. I'm not sure if they have not started LinkedIn page group as well, where they talk about scholarship. And then find yourself a colleague because trust me, the journey of applying for scholarship or professional development generally is not really something that you can work all by yourself. You should have someone in your league, in your friend circle that is also passionate about doing this same thing. You can both together share information with each other. Well, don't do it to someone that will add information from you because yeah, be in a community of people that share information with each other, and that's what they do in some of these group because like there are some schools that I have never heard about in my life. But I would just be in some group and I would see someone posting maybe their success story or posting opportunity that's coming from that group, even if it's not relevant to me, and I'll be like, there's a school like this that exists. Then what is the next thing I would do?
To look.
Type the name of the school on Google. Maybe I'm looking for PhD in mechanical engineering, see if they are doing PhD in mechanical engineering. If they are doing it, I dig deeper to see the kind of program that they have. If they are not doing it, then it's out of my list. So some of these things, and it also cut across some of opportunities. I've talked about some bodies, right, that offers opportunity, but that's not all. There might be some that I can't remember right now. I think this I also remember too now. There are some that are offered by French. I think is it French immersion program or something I can't remember, but I know French government offers some opportunities to do that course-based or thesis-based program. Japan, through their MEST scholarship, they also offer some of these opportunities. So the list goes on and on. So it depends on the kind of circle, the kind of group you belong to, the kind of people you follow on Twitter, on LinkedIn. There are people that talk about some of these things every day on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on Instagram. So don't just use your social media for fun alone. Use it to get information. Follow people on Twitter, follow people on LinkedIn, on Instagram that talk about some of the things that you really want in terms of class. So these are ways you can come across some of these opportunities because if you don't know, you don't know.
Mhm.
And if you are not in a group or in a community of people that knows that can pass it down to you, there's no way you can get
I
to know
know.
it. So my answer to that question would be belong to a community, know people that are relevant in this space that talk a lot about it, and follow them, be open to learn, and like I said, if you are taking this seriously to go for graduate schools and you don't have a mentor, I think it would be very difficult to work on that journey because who is a mentor is someone that has gone through that path before, right? And they may be able to tell you some of the opportunities that they apply for. That could they can also be limited, right?
Mhm.
But they have some places you can go to. At least they have some information that you can take up from there. Not limiting yourself to what they know. Because if what they know is not applicable to what you want to do, then that, yeah, but they can give you general advice, right? And
Mhm.
tell you where you can find some of these resources that you need to be able to do, yeah, to be able to get some of the opportunities you want. So take mentorship seriously, and that can also help you to be able to get some of the scholarship. And I
Yeah.
think that answers your question, right?
Yes, it does. And before I'll ask you if you have any other thing to add to the second part, he said something like a rhymes came out from what you said, and I want to point it because I am so very good with words. I hear words very deep. It says, if you don't know, you can't know, and if you don't follow the people that know, you can't know. And that's very profound. And I can't agree less with you. I don't know if you want to talk one or two things about where people can like join, because I know one on LinkedIn, and even me that I am not even ready to like further my education in graduate study, I see almost every day opportunity about scholarship. And the LinkedIn name is news from opportunity for opportunity for youth, something around that lines. It's on
Yeah,
LinkedIn.
yeah,
Every day I see, I'm not interested, but I follow them, right? And I see every day, at least two, even, sometimes five, sometimes everything they just talk about there is scholarship, scholarship, scholarship. I don't know if you want to lend the voice to maybe two or three um sites or groups, or maybe you are going to share a link that you think I can pass, or something you just want to say that might be useful groups that people can follow.
yeah. Talking about opportunity for youth, I would really recommend that because not they don't talk about graduate opportunities alone. They talk about all
Mm.
aspect of development, right? Professional development, anything, fellowship,
Yes.
postdoctoral opportunity, all name it. It's all packed.
Yeah.
So and one beautiful thing about them is they have an option for you to subscribe so that you can get email
Emails. Yes. Yes.
every day, and
Yes.
you can take it up from there. So that's one a place on LinkedIn that you can follow. And there are individuals that also are very knowledgeable in this area on LinkedIn, and they throw out information almost every day talking about some of these things. And one of them that is very popular in this space is Dr. Igbalajobi.
Okay.
Uh, Dr. Igbalajobi, I hope I'm correct. I think he's very active on LinkedIn and Twitter. And I may need to do
Yeah, no worries. You can
other
just
research
send
about
me,
that,
you
but I
can
can
just send
remember
me
it.
those link, like their profile link. I can just
Yeah,
add it to the resource I'm gonna send to people at the end of the program, or put it underneath the description button
yeah,
of this webinar when I'm posting it on the channel. And I can't, maybe I should just do a not paid for shout out to that that group, that opportunity youth on LinkedIn. Like, it's very, very
yeah.
good. And that's where I was in the World Bank Summit like 3 months ago, and that's
Oh,
where I got the
interesting.
information from. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
they
where
have a
and they
lot.
send it to my inbox like every day, even weekends they send
Yeah.
every day. So I just flip through anyone that catches my fancy at that moment, and I think I have time to be able to like do it. I just read through and I just apply, and that's where I was able to get that information, and I went for the World Bank Summit.
Yeah, it's a very resourceful
Very.
platform that you want to be on. So I will try and look at some of those names. And what I also do is I try to share some of their thing, whatever they talk about
On
on
your
my Twitter page once in a while. And also I think I try to reshare or repost some opportunities that I come across on my LinkedIn once in a while. But I don't think I've ever done a fresh post on LinkedIn or Twitter saying that these are opportunities that exist, because of course, we have a lot of people that are doing that already, but yeah. And like I mentioned the last time too, I do have like a WhatsApp group for those that might be in serious, like serious minded people that
minded
might be
people. No.
interested on that can also join that group, because it's a close community, and
Okay.
we try to also share any information that we come across and help each other to be able to get that opportunity along the line. So I'll try and work on that resources and get that across to you.
All right. So that WhatsApp community you're talking about, it's yours, right? But it's a
Yeah,
very close one for
it's
serious-minded
my
people, right?
yeah,
All
yeah.
right. Noted. Okay, thank you very much. I don't know, before we move to the next few questions and we call it a day on this webinar, um, the other part of the question says, can you share insights on finding financial aid opportunities for students from developing country? Like it's looking like what we've been saying all over and over again, but I don't know if.
I was about to say that. I don't think I have any other thing apart from what you have been talking about. So it's still the same process. Yeah.
All right. So quickly, how can I win a scholarship?
Hmm.
Or how to
Okay.
secure a total sponsored scholarship? They're all related questions.
How can I secure a scholarship
And win it. So it's
and win
because
it?
I know you can apply and you can be
And
rejected.
not win it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's part of it.
Yeah.
Applying and getting rejected is part of it because writing is a skill.
Hmm.
And if you don't like writing, forget about it.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Even
because
in
you
the
have to be,
course-based, even in the course-based course.
yeah, in a course, as long as you're looking for scholarship to support your course-based program, forget about it.
Hmm.
Because through writing, you need to be able to communicate, express yourself.
Hmm.
And the other person on the other side that is reading it is convinced enough to understand your story.
Hmm.
So if you cannot tell your story in writing, you cannot convince other people to believe you
Hmm.
that you are really pro, for
Really
example, if
want
that's
it.
foreign,
Hmm.
yeah, that you are really pro and you really need that scholarship and you can do amazing things if they give you that opportunity. It's not enough for you as a person to understand what you are saying. Even if you are the only person that understands what you are saying or what you are writing, you are not communicating.
Exactly. I wanted to say that. I wanted to say
So
maybe you live on your own. You
yeah,
just stay in your own words where you understand only yourself and your language.
and one beautiful thing about writing is it gets better every day. So
Yeah.
if you have not been writing and getting rejected, you won't understand the beauty of writing.
Hmm.
I was speaking with some of people in space. I think that was last week, and I was asking someone that if you look at the SOP that you wrote like 1 or 2 years ago, and the one you are writing now, what do you think? Has there been any changes? And the person responded affirmatively. Yes, there are changes because that's what we call growth over time. And you should be, if you want to write SOP, for example, you have not, if you have never written any SOP for in your life, then the first thing you should do is read sample of other people's SOP, right?
Yeah.
But reading it doesn't mean copying what they did, but looking at different style of SOP, and then you can now write your own story because it's your own story. You don't need to copy any other person. So, and some of these things you don't need to get rejected at times too. I've seen people that get it on the
Yeah.
first try
Hmm.
because if you have the right resources, you have the right set of people that can guide you, right? It makes it easy. So if you are doing it blindly, there is likelihood of getting rejected. So how do you secure? Because mostly is about writing. Only few grant you opportunity to showcase yourself by interview. If you even made it to the stage of interview, that means you must have convinced them through writing
Writing.
in some way. So you might need to start thinking about working on your writing skill because and when they ask you for essays, I mean for some MasterCard, I was reviewing a MasterCard scholarship essay, I think is that for Toronto, and they're asking up to 6 questions. That's just for MasterCard application, not yet for the university
Oh,
application, right?
university. Oh my.
And that's taking about is it 6 or 7 questions that they're asking them. I need to be able to tell story because what people can relate with is not big English or anything,
Mm.
but the story you are telling. When they ask you a question, how you have demonstrated leadership, you should be able to look at reflect on what you have done with your life. Where have I demonstrated leadership? And be able to bring it down very concisely to answer the question that they're asking you, right? So, and let me emphasize this again. If you have people that are watching this that are still in the university, it's not too early to start doing things that will help you when you if you are looking for a graduate opportunity. For
Mm.
example, if you are looking for a course-based program and you're looking like the likes of MasterCard, Erasmus to sponsor you, you likely want to get engaged in leadership opportunity, but not at the detriment of your CGPA because those two.
Goes
they go hand
and
in hand. If you're a first class graduate or a very strong 2-1 graduate and you have excellent leadership experience and you can tell this in story, because it's a different thing to have all those things and be able to convey it, to be able to
mm,
convince someone that you
mm,
have it.
mm.
Trust me, you'll be kind of competitive, though everywhere now is competitive. And at times that you are getting rejected is not a reflection of you not being competitive enough. Well, if you want to look at it in that scenario, you might say that you are not competitive enough because they have a quota that they want to take,
Mm,
right? And but it doesn't mean that you are not good,
mhm.
but you just need to look at what again are the people ahead of you doing.
Have they done?
Because if you are looking at yourself that you are already made, you are good, there's nothing else that you can do, then there's a problem.
Mhm.
There's always room for growth. And that's where I mentioned that writing is a process. The growth for writing is a process. And the more you write, the more you get better at it. That's one thing. So work on your developing your leadership, your research experience, your writing skills, and some of the skills that are important in your career,
Mm,
right? If you are doing anything in anatomy, you are doing anything biology, there are some lab skills that you need to know. If you
mm,
are doing engineering, there are some software skills that you need to know. So
mm,
developing on these are some of the things that will make you competitive depending on where the direction you are looking at for your graduate school,
mm.
basically.
My. Very insightful, I might say. So, this is now the big part. Even before I started knowing as my undergraduate days, the word SOP has just been like a chorus.
Mm.
SOP, you write SOP, statement of purpose, you write SOP, that your SOP is not this, is not that, rah, rah, rah. So my question is, how do you write a very good SOP? Because storytelling, like you said, the more you write, the more you get better at it. But someone like me, for example, I can talk the whole word. I will always want to like I will want to do the talking and just leave the scene than calling me and say, let us write. My speaking, you can't compare my speaking and writing. It's not that I'm not very good grammatically, but you would see me at my power when it comes to speaking than in writing. So, what will you say is the best way? Like, what are the things you would say contributes to writing a very good SOP that can earn you a scholarship?
Yeah, so uh, for writing an SOP, a very good SOP, I think I have two approach that I love,
Mm,
and it doesn't mean that I applied it during my time, but I think I apply some of them. But over time, when I review SOP for people and also reading Winning SOP, I have come across some things, key elements that can intrigue me. Or, for example, if someone sends SOP to me, the first paragraph is what will keep me
mm.
going if I want to continue at that
That
moment.
moment, or you shift it
To
away.
or I have to, work on it another time because your first paragraph is something that will
Hook, they call it the hook.
hook you,
Yeah.
make you stay glued to the screen like, oh, I'm loving this story. I need to finish this story.
Mm,
So, what are the ways you can start your paragraph off? For me, that's my personal opinion. You may not find that anywhere, or you might read it somewhere too. But yeah, things that I think works. And for people that have reviewed their SOP that has worked for them, that has earned them scholarship or getting admission in their school is you can start in two ways. One of the ways, starting with statistics. For example, if you say that about 50% of the population in the world is suffering from one disease, as long as you can quote, you can cite a reliable
mm.
source. I'm
Yes.
not saying because you want to come in that way. You are now saying something that nobody
It's
can
not
find
found
anywhere,
anywhere. Okay.
right? Because people love the power of number.
Mm, mm, mm,
The power of number, if you can find a very
mm,
good statistics,
mm,
and then you can now relate that to how that problem, that statistics has made you who you are today, and who you want to be,
Mm.
crafting a problem statement out of it.
Mm.
That because of this has made me to see the need for a very efficient public health, community public health, and has kind of made my interest to develop over time in this area. I mean, it started with a very baffling statistics that can be of interest. Maybe not for every of your reader,
Mm.
especially if you are going for PhD, which is more of research or masters by research.
Mm.
You need to write almost every day.
Oh my God.
You need to write paper, and when you're writing your introduction of paper, at times you may want to use statistics or you want to use some information from unpopular governmental organization to back up the motivation for your research. So your paragraph is more like motivation for any other thing that you have been doing with your life, and now that revolve around what you want to do next, which is graduate study, right?
Mm.
And then another way is telling a story about your life. For example, in 2020, I was at my dad's farm and I noticed mango coming down from the tree.
Mm.
And I discovered right from there, I discovered that I needed to do something that can counter the law of gravity.
Mhm.
Well, that's just me telling an
Yeah.
example, but you have to make it
Appealing. Mm.
appealing, believable,
Mm.
right? I mean, anyone reading that in your first paragraph and you were able to communicate that, how that really has impacted you to continue.
Mm.
So for me, your first paragraph is very key. And then once you have been able to establish what part of your life, what part of the statistics that baffles you to want to do what you are
Mhm.
doing,
Mm.
and then you can continue the next paragraph talking about your experience, your academic experience, your leadership experience, how you are exceptional, and all of that, things that make you great, what you have done with your life to support the motivation and how that has prepared you to want to go into graduate study, right? So if you can put all those down, I think there are chances of getting into the program or getting a scholarship. Like I said, it's going to be competitive, but don't just take my word for it alone. Read, read, and read. Read, 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 and read. So if you read samples of winning proposals, there are some groups that I'm sure that they have OneDrive link for you that you can have a lot of
Mm.
winning SOPs that you can go
Wow.
through. But that doesn't make because they are sharing it with you that you should
You
go
just go
and
and
just
copy and
copy
paste.
and just fill in your name. No, learn from different ones that pertains to your discipline, and then tell your own story. Think of a way of how you can take different elements because nobody is really doing anything new.
Mhm. Mhm.
So we all take from here, take from here, take from
Mhm.
here,
Mhm.
and that's
Mhm.
can become something new.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
And a disclaimer for people that use AI to write is not advisable because people can easily tell if you are using AI, especially if you are not very good at doing it. So what I advise people is if you are using you can only use AI for editing, not for you, right? Not AI to think for you. No matter how you want to write it, just write it anyhow first and
Mm.
then start thinking of making it coherent.
Mm.
But never use AI to write for you because I know that academics are taking this serious now. It's not like they are, some of them are not totally discouraging it, but if you are asking it to write for you, that's where the problem will come from. So you might be able to use some touch of AI, but not AI thinking for you, but most likely maybe in your structure or your editing, basically. So I think that should be like a disclaimer for people that might be thinking that we have AI that can
Yeah.
do magic.
That's
So
it.
don't even think about that. I hope that answers the question.
No, powerfully well, it does. Yeah. So I just want, before I leave here, this question, I just want to ask, are there always word limits to writing SOP, or you can write from now till eternity?
Yeah, there are always word limits. Some schools will give you, and I think the maximum I've seen, if they do not give you word limit, I think it's always recommended that you do 2 pages.
2 pages.
because you don't want to bore
You're
your readers. Yeah, I know you have intriguing story, captivating story, but at the same time, you're not the only person that
looking
they are
at.
reading through there.
Mm.
So some schools might give you 500 words, 850 words, but if they, in most cases, they do not tell you the limit of the word, just stick to 2 pages or
Mm.
1,000 words.
Mm. Cool. Thank you very much. So I will take these two questions because it says, could you provide an in-depth process to securing fully funded scholarship for MBA in any Canadian university, if you'd know? And this other one, it says finding scholarship for a non-STEM, and you've stated this student is proving difficult. How can this be navigated? And what scholarship can one apply that would enable one gain postgraduate teaching experience abroad? Because a lot of scholarship says when you are done, you have to come back.
Yeah, so for the first question, which is
MBA.
MBA, like I mentioned earlier, I that's my personal opinion, right? I don't think I know of any program, except if you are going through the popular scholarship that I mentioned,
Okay.
that offers, I mean, for a particular school, you are going through the school funding now, and I don't think there is any school that gives 100%. Maybe they give 100% tuition, but not tuition and living expenses, right? And MBA is very competitive and lucrative, like I said. And so most people that do it fully funded, they either do it through maybe the likes of Chevening, Erasmus. And talking about graduate assistantship, I'm not very sure, but I think there might have been someone that I know that got graduate assistantship, but that kind of graduate assistantship, I'm not sure if it's fully funded graduate assistantship,
Mm.
like having tuition paid and living expenses. But because MBA is a professional program, so it's not
Yeah.
more of thesis.
This base, yeah.
Though some schools have thesis option, but it's not very rare. Let me put it that way. So maybe I may not be able to comment much
Much.
about MBA, except you are going through popular scholarship, Erasmus. I don't even know if Erasmus supports MBA.
Mm.
But MasterCard may be able to support. So MasterCard supports. Chevening might be a good option to look at. So that could work. And then the second question is,
Yeah, this person is saying finding scholarship for a non-STEM student is proving difficult, like we all know. How can one navigate this?
yeah. So to be able to navigate that, you need to be able to do extra because almost let's assume we have everybody graduating with a first class from all over the world wanting to apply to uh, a program, a social science program, social science-based program. So what we distinguish these people from each other would be extra mile might likely be able to go. And what do I mean by extra mile is now AI is the order of the day. Everybody's applying AI to anything. So what can you do that you can integrate AI into? That means you must be able to go extra mile to learn some AI skills, which you can pitch to your supervisor because I think I have a colleague that did economics as a bachelor's and he did human resources for master's. And what he's doing now is totally kind of different from those lines for PhD. But he was able to find the gap, right, and was able to go extra mile to see the application. I can't remember exactly what he's doing PhD in right now. That could have helped me to give more accurate answer to that person. But yeah, you need to reflect on what is in Fogi. How are people applying it into different area of research? And trust me, when you look at professors' profile, you see that the research that they are doing in social science these days is not just purely social science research. They are applying one skill or the other. AI, name it. So for you to be able to stand out, you must be able to convince them that you have some of these skills, and that's something that will make you to stand out in that area. So except you're looking for course based, that's what, and as we also know, if you're running from a STEM program that's already competitive, course based sponsorship is also competitive already. But what I think that you can do to stand out is ready to go extra mile. And I can't overemphasize the importance of speaking with people. The few number of people that are able to that were able to get that kind of opportunity, what did they do differently? So it's really open to speak with people that you see in your same line of career that are able to, be among the 1% of people that were able to, move to the other line by getting fully funded opportunities. That might be something they are doing differently that they can open your eyes to. But one thing that I know is if you can integrate AI into some of these things or ready to go extra mile and not just doing the traditional research, you might be able to secure something for yourself.
Thank you, Profound. Thank you so much. I'll just pick 2 or 3 more questions and we are done. And for those that be wanting to get more personalized answers, can we create a forum for them to be able to reach out to you some later time? So this question says, can I apply for PhD scholarship before the end of my master's program? Thank you.
Yeah, you can, as long as you are not applying to universities in Europe.
Why?
Yeah, because from my experience, that might be some exception, but from my experience, what I've seen in Europe is most universities in Europe they offer PhD as a job, not like as a student. So they advertise it like a job. You are coming in as a PhD student and they are paying you to come and do research. So in most cases, they want you to have completed your master's program because you need to, in your application, you need to upload your master's transcript and maybe master certificate as well in your program. But yeah, let's talk about Canada and the US. And because I said that in Europe, that I'm not saying that it's not possible in Europe, but that's what me I've seen. There might be some exceptions. So don't just say because I mentioned that you don't want to check further to see if there are some schools that accept that. There might be some schools that accept that. But in Canada and the US, I know that that's very possible. I have a mentee that in his 4th year at the university, he was able to get a PhD in the US. And he only had, I think, in his final year, 5th year, because it was a 5-year program he was doing, but he only had 4th year, up to the 4th year transcript when he was applying. So he didn't have the final year transcript, but he was able to get a PhD over, right? So that's one. It's possible. But my personal experience on that, when I was applying for my PhD program, I had only completed 3 semesters out of 4 semesters or so. I was in, I think, yeah, I was in my 3rd semester, and I only waited for me to have all my results. I don't think I even waited. I think, yeah, I didn't wait to have my 3rd semester result. I only had 2 semesters result, like 1 year out of 2 years master's program, and I applied into that program, and I was able to get my admission, and which was funded of course, and I didn't have problem with that. So some universities in the US and Canada, they surely accept that. So don't limit yourself because you are doing. So you just need to look at the admission requirement, and if you are not clear about anything, trust me, the graduate program coordinator is always your friend. The graduate program coordinator is always your friend, but make sure that you are not asking questions that they have already answered on their page. If they want, if you want them to take you seriously. So this kind of question, if I were you, if I look at the departmental page, for example, and they didn't mention anything like that, and I'm concerned that I'm paying to you and you may not take me seriously because of that, then I might reach out to the graduate coordinator and be like, hi, I'm planning to apply and this is my situation. I think I did that. I think I did some of things like that for some of the schools that I applied for, and some of them responded that yeah, you are good to go. You can go ahead and apply. And yeah, so if there's anything on the application procedure that is not clear, you can always reach out to graduate coordinator. That's their job to answer your question that they have not answered. And in most cases, there might be some questions in the FAQ, frequently asked questions too, that you can look through. So applying for a scholarship is not for, so like, I don't want to say lazy people
Faith
because it
and
requires
faith.
faint people because you need to. But if you have people to walk you through the path,
So the
it
way,
makes it easy.
yeah. Mm,
Makes it easy.
mm. Okay, the last few questions. This one says, what is the most efficient way to find a supervisor in your field for PhD opportunities without going to every single university website to check?
Well, I'm sorry for the person that asked this question. You might have no other choice than going to each university to check. Now, there are things that might help you, and one of them is GradCast. I think GradCast for US applications. I think I've not really used it, but I think I've seen people using that. I don't know how much benefit you can get out of it, but you can check it out. You might need
Is
to
it an application? And if it is, can you help us spell the name so I just write it?
Grad,
G oh,
GRADCAS. So CAS.
GRADCAS. So is it an application?
Yeah, I think it's a website. You can, if you type
Web.
GradCast on Google, it will lead you to a website. You need to create an account and then you can take it up from there.
All right.
I think it's similar to Common App. Common App is mostly for undergraduate application in the US. I think
All right.
they likely wanted to follow that same pattern. But
Okay.
I don't know of how much help it will be, but it's something that I was trying out. And I know that I also mentioned about the importance of community because you might come across some skills that you have never had in your life. So being in a community and you come across a new school, then you can go and do your search. But you still have to do what you are trying to avoid about going to each school, look at what they do. But I think maybe Gradcast may be able to help. And in the case of Canada, there are 15 universities, top 15 universities that are heavily funded, that people know that they are kind of funded. So if you want to go in that route, you can type U15 Canada on Google and it show you 15 list of top universities that you can check. Then after you have that 15 list of universities, then you also need to go into each of these school by yourself, looking at the department that you have interest in to see if they have that kind of department and the kind of research they are doing, especially if you're looking for uh, funded program. So that's something that can help or that can make your search to be smart. But I'm sorry, you might still need to go and to go deep into each university. Those can just help you to streamline your search. Then another thing you can do is, of course, you can take advantage of the likes of Times Higher Education, is it Times Higher Education? Or even Google. If you type on Google, schools that are offering, let's say, PhD in animal science, it will tell you some schools that you now need to go into each school to see what their program package is, the funding opportunities that are available. I wish I could tell you that you don't have to do all of that, but that's part of the search. I mean, as a thesis, master's, as a graduate student, you are supposed to find things, find information. So that's part of the process, and that's the list of things that you have to do in graduate school. So I hope what some of the things I mentioned could actually help you to make, not like it to make it seamless, but just to lessen some of the things that you might need to do. And that's I talk about Canada and the US. So if you are looking for PhD, this doesn't apply for masters. If you are looking for PhD, let's say in Australia, no, not us. Yeah, no. In Australia, in Netherlands. Yeah. Netherlands has something called academic transfer. It's like a website also, so you can subscribe to it, and if they have, you can specify your specialization, and if you subscribe after you have created an account, they can always send you list of available opportunities in your line through that website. But that's mostly because, like I mentioned earlier, in Europe, generally, PhD have been treated like a job. So they advertise the position. It's not like you're applying to the school directly first. They advertise the position. You apply to the position, and if you are selected, then you can come into the school. I think I find transfer for Netherlands to be very useful. I know there might be some website like that for other universities in Europe. And after you have exhausted everything that I mentioned, the other thing is going into the individual university to get the information that you need.
Yeah. So this was not part of the question, but I would want to ask here. You said the list of the things you can do with in graduate studies research. Can you throw more light to what a graduate study life is all about? Just a sneak peek, not no. I know it can be a whole lot, but just a sneak peek.
Well, I'm not trying to scare anybody,
No worries.
right? So, yeah, grad school is all about doing research. You do experiments, it's my field, not once, not twice, not thrice, not four times. I'm sure you're all familiar with the how the light bulb came occur, well, how they discover light bulb, right? So, those are part of the challenges. You need to look at the data. You already have a graph. For example, you have done your research after all the failed attempts, and maybe you plotted a graph, you generated a graph. You still need to be able to explain the graph. And if you are not very knowledgeable in that area, what do? You look for people that have done something similar, right? That's still part of research. You have to find the information that will help you to be able to interpret the graph. So when I say that looking for schools is one of the least things that you will do in graduate school is it's still more of research, especially if your school is very research intensive. You can't run away from some of these things because it's research, and if you are lucky you don't have a very supportive supervisor, you have to find everything by yourself. Then I can imagine how you even want to start if you don't have that kind of support to help you. So doing all these things is kind of training you to know how to find information. And maybe by the end of getting that opportunity, you can also help us or help others that will come after you to, to find a more efficient way
Mm, they're doing so.
of doing this search,
Mm.
right? So looking for information is a daily daily life
Lifestyle of a grad
of a
student. All right, and it makes sense. It does make sense. So I just want you said the grad card, right? That it's a website
grad
of, oh, sorry, grad
cards.
card. It's a website on it's a website that one can go to and create a profile for him or herself. So what does that have to offer? Like when you have a profile there, is it that it shows opportunity for varying school, or it can streamline when you put the things you need there, it can streamline information that suits your peculiarity. What does that platform look like?
Yeah, basically it can streamline your search.
Okay.
So it can streamline your search just like your WhatsApp. You want to find maybe you want to find some information, previous information, just type it on. But just ask you for some information so that it can filter out exactly what you need, and then you can take it up from there.
All right. Thank you very much. So the last two questions would be, how do I get to study masters in MEP Building Service program? And the other one is, how do I get scholarship in Canada for engineering discipline, which is slightly different from my former discipline?
How do I get master's or graduate program in MEP? Is that
MEP,
the first question?
yes, MEP Building Service program.
Yeah, uh, that's not a program in most universities, except it's for a course-based program. But to the best of my knowledge, except if you are in Europe, they may have it as a course. In Canada, I don't think I've seen school doing that as a course, except if it's a professional course or a certification course. That's my perspective. Doesn't mean that I'm right.
All right.
That's a disclaimer. And but if you are looking for thesis opportunity, most times these kind of courses are hidden under either mechanical department or um, civil department, either of these two. So if you are looking for thesis-based option, you may not see MEP, mechanical engineering building, as a course. But if you look at the research that the professors are doing, you may be able to relate some of their research to MEP specialization. So Don't neglect that fact. If you are looking for research base, that's always work. But for course based, there might be some schools that are doing something specific in that line. And some schools might be doing something related to construction science or things related. You may not find MEP
Mm,
specifically, but you might find something related to MEP.
Thank you. So the last one there it is, how do I get a scholarship in Canada for engineering discipline, which is slightly different from my former discipline?
For engineering discipline, depending on even if it's course based or thesis based, you are coming for, you still be able to tell the story of how what you have done is pushing you to do what you want to do now. Because if I were a professor or I I were on like kind of admission committee to make decision, I want to see your track record.
Hmm.
So if you are done, let's say microbiology in your bachelor's and you say that you want to do mechanical engineering for your graduate study, I want to look at the synergy. What are you bringing from microbiology into mechanical
Into-
engineering program? So it still all boils down to you telling the story. It is your responsibility, it is your job to reflect on the skills that you think you have from that you can bring into mechanical engineering program, for example,
Hmm.
right? So you should be able to tell that story, look at the synergy, because it's let me talk about more of thesis-based program. You are coming to do your research and you have that kind of different background, totally different background. You really need to convince me to
Hmm.
take you into my lab, knowing that you have different total
Hmm.
specialization, right? And in most cases, uh, it's a rare occasion that it's not like it's not possible, right? But you need to be able to find that gap and what is driving you. You need to be able to convince people, professors, academic review committee, why you want to do that switch and what that you do for your career,
Hmm.
right? So that's something that you need to answer in your maybe SOP or any other thing that you are doing. So it's always very tricky. So I think my direct answer, instead of going back and forth, is you need to find the leverage. You need to find the synergy between what you have done
Which I don't
and
know
what you want
what
to
you
do.
want to do.
You need to find that leverage, be able to convince people.
And where you can express that would be only on your SOP, or is there any other document wise submitting that you can be able to convey that message or something?
Well, your CV is also one way because you
Oh,
have to show that skills, some of the skills that they need, right? Your CV should be able to say that, and then your recommendation letter
okay.
should be able to say that.
To do
But
that.
it is maybe I should put a disclaimer, not like you can do a graduate study with a BSc in microbiology, mechanical engineering. That's totally different because what you have done in mechanical engineering and microbiology has never prepared you for what you are going to do
Mm,
in mechanical engineering. But I'm just citing an example, just I had to restate that.
yes, I get that. Thank you so much for spilling truth about this graduate study. Like I myself sitting as the um panelist or the person throwing in the question, I'm not even ready for anything graduate study now. I've just gotten a lot of insight and I can thank you enough. And I hope our viewers will also find this helpful. And I've spoken, I'll be to all those who registered, I'll be sending alongside this recording the brochure that will call it, or the pieces of information, up to 20 pages of different schools and scholarship they offer in different regions of the world. And we also be opening a platform where serious-minded people will be able to meet with you to like speak on their peculiarities and what school they are looking out for. Probably the opportunity for you to be able to review their SOP and just land them that scholarship like they are willing and wanting and dreaming for. Um, Mr. Philip. I don't know why I'm putting Mr. in your name. I just want to sound respectful. But I think I'm cool with it. Or maybe I can put it Professor Philip because, like I told you, I'm going to change your name very
That's heavy.
no, Professor Philip. I'm now counting the number of professors I have on my list. At least if I'm not even smelling professorship, it's nice. They say when five of your friends are rich people, definitely you, even if you've not seen the richness or millionaire, or I don't know how to put it, you would definitely be the sixth one. So let it keep rubbing on me because I'm already collating the files of my friends that are becoming professor in no distant time. Thank you very much, and I can thank you very much for spending your time this close, over 1 hour, speaking truth, all for free. I don't take it for granted. On behalf of myself and my viewers that will be looking at this later, I say thank you very, very much. On the concluding note for your last words, what will you say in one? Because I know professors, I know they're always ready. But in one or two sentences, what is the bigger picture after your graduate study? What's the advantage of going for this graduate study? And what is the concluding word you have for all our viewers?
All right, thank you so much for having me. I know it has been a lot of hassle trying to get this done again, but thank you for your resilience and having me again. And before I forget this, sorry, before I answer your question, there is a session coming up next week for those that might be interested. I can share you the flyer later. It's someone that got opportunities like this that want to share a story, and I think hearing from people that has gone through the process, telling their story, we also kind of help people, and there might be opportunity, of course, to answer question directly
Mhm.
with that fellow. I will share more information about
Okay.
that after the call with you. You
All
can
right.
share
All
with
right.
people in your community.
All right, I will.
So, so for me, after the PhD or graduate studies, I think that's a question.
Yeah.
What's the benefits for me?
What's the benefit of doing the research, of doing the learnings and everything?
Yeah, looking at the kind of research that I'm doing, I see that it's something in foggy. I'm sorry, I'm going against one or two sentences actually. But I see myself contributing to, after my PhD, contributing to the net zero emission goals, basically. And because we are talking about sustainable system, climate change and all. But yeah, I see myself working with organizations, research group,
Mm,
collaborating on developing sustainable energy system
mm,
in order to make the earth habitable for each and every one of us,
mm,
something more cheaper and that people can afford and all of
mm,
that. So I see myself doing more of that, collaborating with research group.
mm.
I can't say specifically that I'm going for a faculty position, but if that comes along the way, of course, I'm open to it as well.
A
So
vote.
fingers
You have a
crossed.
vote here. A vote here.
So fingers crossed. So my last word for people that are watching this today is that I think one thing I cannot overemphasize on this journey to getting graduate study application is having a like-minded community and getting a mentor and speak out.
Hmm.
Speak out.
So it's
Speak out.
okay in
Sorry, it's okay. Yeah.
my local parlance.
So speak out because I've seen situations where people come to me and I will only give them one test. They will approach me from perspective, but yeah, let's be, I want to do graduate school and mentorship, but just one test. And I will never hear from them again because I won't reach out to you again if you do not reach out after
Sure,
doing the assignment.
sure.
I don't have that luxury of
Luxury
time to
of
be
time.
wasting on people
Yeah,
that are that is not
exactly.
ready to do the work.
I agree with you.
So if you have people that are ready to sacrifice their time to see you achieving your goal, don't take it for granted. And ask questions. If you are not making progress, don't feel down that I mean it's your responsibility. Even if you are not making progress, it's still your responsibility to reach out to whoever is mentoring you, let them know the situation of things, and they might be able to help you out of that. So in a summary, so that I don't say more than two words, is that speak up, speak up, speak up, and get people of like-minded in your cycle that you can do this together.
Hmm.
And with that, anything is possible. Thank you once again for having me.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. I wish I can tell how we met, but this word is a very, very small word. And I cannot agree with speaking out, speaking out, speaking out. Thank you so much, Mr. Philip, Professor Philip, in my own view. Let me just be calling those things that are not as they are already. All right. Thank you so much. I can tell you thank you enough. Thank you for sharing so much value. And we hope one or two people would sign up, serious-minded people will sign up to meet with you one-on-one and where they can be discussing their peculiarities with you, and you'll be able to like lead them along the path in achieving their scholarship goals. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.